Well, welcome everybody to Thought Leader Friday. We're excited to have our friend Angie Cole here from Raleigh, North Carolina. She's actually coming to you from her beach house, and we're excited to have her. And Debbie's going to get us kicked off. Hey, Debbie.
Hi, guys. Thanks so much for joining us today. And thank you so much, Angie, for carving out some time for us and sharing your experience with our listeners. What I'd love to do is just start it off with giving you the opportunity to introduce yourself and your team, kind of walk us through your timelines to where you are to now, and just give our listeners insight into Angie Cole.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, first of all. So a little bit about myself. I've been in business going on 13 plus years now, and it's easy to remember that date because I received my real estate license not even a month after my daughter was born. So I was sitting through real estate class pregnant and miserable. But immediately I went into new home sales. So working for builders in a model home, did that for about 3.5 years. And then from there, I went into general brokerage. I immediately joined a team, which I think can be a great start for, newer agents in the business, especially if you're brand new into general brokerage. And so I joined a team as a buyer specialist. Absolutely love that team that I joined, but for whatever reason, I think just the way we conduct business wasn't the way that I guess, operate best. So I wasn't super successful. I was with that team for about 8 to 9 months, actually quit that team and wasn't quite sure what to do with my life because I started to think maybe real estate wasn't for me. Well, another team asked me to join them as their first buyer specialist, joined their team, and things just kind of skyrocketed from there and took off. Amazing team, and business continued to grow. I personally was really proactive about generating my own business, work in my sphere, and so I decided to then open up my own team back in October of 2013. We were under the umbrella of Keller Williams. Then from there decided to go independent and open up our own firm in July of 2016. And we've just been, rocking and rolling from there. So our team consists of, there's 17 of us, I believe. And it's hard to keep up with the number because we just started really growing the team this year. I'm set to have twins in November. And so I'll be stepping out of the business for 3 months. So I really wanted to make sure that we just had everyone on board in order to hit our goals for the year. So we used to be very specialized, meaning we had agents on the listing side, agents on the buy side, but we have actually opened that up to where agents can work both sides of the transaction once they've been with our team for a year. So that's an amazing opportunity that they have. So we have, we now have 11 producing agents, I believe it is. We have an inside sales rep. He's dialing away, setting appointments for the agents. We also have 5 ladies in our admin team. One of them just joined in the last 2 weeks. And so we have a listing manager. We have 2 contract to close coordinators. We have a director of operations who's stepping out of the closing coordinator side to really handle that end of it. And then we have another lady who just does it all for us. And we, pretty active in the market last year with 7 producing agents. We serviced 309 clients for $98 million. This year, I just looked at the main numbers. We've already closed 44 million, 122 units. And in June, I think we're set to close like 50 or 51 units.
Wow, that's great. Great job. Well, a couple of questions around your team structure. So when you talk about your agents that are more, as we refer to as hybrid agents, where they're doing both sides of the business, how do they have to earn that right to go hybrid, or is it more of they just come into your team and they have the opportunity to list and sell? And what does that training look like? That sort of tells us how that position came about.
Sure. So with any agent that joins our team, whether they're a brand new agent in the market or they're a seasoned agent, they all go through the same type of training. And so we have modules set up. So we have the buying agent modules. And so they go through those. There's like 13 modules. There's some like to-do homework for them as well. Like, all right, send me a video of you're working with real estate agents brochure, just to make sure they're truly going through those and listening. But the great thing about the modules is it's personally given me time back. In the past, especially in 2019, there was a number of agents I sat in front of for a good week, going through every little thing about real estate. And then, maybe our team wasn't a good fit for them, or, maybe just real estate wasn't the career path they should be taking. So it was a week of my time that was wasted. So the modules have been just amazing. It took a lot of time to put those together, but I highly recommend putting some type of training program in place. And so everyone on our team starts as a buying agent. I personally feel that the buy side is the happy time, right? In this market right now, with it being a strong seller's market, it can be a little frustrating with multiple offers, but the buy side is more of networking and happy, where list side is a lot more cutthroat. You know, you have to really sell yourself. You're up against a lot of other agents. And so I feel like agents need to understand how to really, you know, be underway with the buy side before they have the opportunity to hop over to the listing side. So with our team, you must be on the team for a year in order to then hop over to the listing side. But for the listing side, there's also a new set of modules you must go through. So you can become listing, and I'm drawing a blank on the names, certified and qualified. So you're qualified, meaning you have been on the team for a year, and then you watch all the modules, and then you must set and close 10 of your own listing appointments. So, you know, we're not going to just hand you, hey, here's an easy appointment, go on it. You do have the opportunity to, of course, lead generate within our database, but you need to set your own appointments and you need to close them. Once you've done that and you've closed 10 of your own listing appointments, then you become listing certified. And that's when their team, being myself or ISA, will actually hand you listing appointments. So you have to earn the opportunity to become a listing agent. And, you know, it's funny because even though we've opened up that opportunity and there's now 6 agents on our team who can work both sides, I would say there's probably only 3 active agents that care to. You know, but still giving the agents the opportunity to do that, I think is good for just retention and keeping them, you know, on the team instead of feeling like they need to jump ship because they were held back.
Sure, sure. When you look at your business, if you know offhand, what percentage of your business is listings versus buyers?
Yeah, we used to be really like 50-50, and in 2019 and now really going into 2020, I would say we're more at probably like probably 65-35, 65 side buy and 35% listing. I think across the board, everyone's dealing with low inventory, especially our markets, it's just dropping and dropping. And so, you know, falling upon those listing presentations or those appointments and then, you know, winning those over, the opportunities are kind of scarce. So we definitely are buy side heavy.
Yeah. And I think we're hearing that across the board with agents. You know, they're even getting listings and they're selling in a day, so you're not even able to maximize on that listing to generate additional listings, or having to be creative around actually doing that.
So true. So true.
So what role, I know you said you're working your way out of the team for a period of time, so congratulations on the babies.
Thank you.
What role do you currently play on the team?
Yeah, so well, honestly, just mom. That's going to be the role. You know, I have a little one who he just turned 2, and when he was born, you know, he was strapped to me. I was training, you know, agents. I never took a day off, and I know that's just not realistic with 2 on the way. And so honestly, I really will 100% just step back. Now, I'll still be involved and, you know, be a part of like team meetings, and you know, we do agent coaching calls every single Monday where I just do a quick little check-in with them. You know, hey, did you meet your goal for last week? What is your goal for this week? You know, so making sure I'm still actively involved with the team, but I currently am still in production, and that will pick back up once I go back to work after 3 months, because I love being in production and going on listing appointments. But for that, you know, 3 months, I'm not really going to be doing much as far as real estate goes. So, but that's why I have, you know, we have just such an amazing team, and it can run without me. So.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're on your way to building an unimaginable amount of leverage for yourself as well. So that was a good segue too. When you think about accountability for your team members, with going through the modules and then the weekly reporting of numbers, what does that look like with your team, and what are the expectations of your agents to report? How do they report? Give us.
Sure. So I'm big on, I am not going to micromanage. And I tell agents that from the get-go when we're interviewing. You know, if I need to micromanage you, then you're not a good fit for the team. We only want, you know, agents on our team who are go-getters, rock stars, who, you know, want to just continue to grow. And if I have to push you along, this is not the right team. So actually our accountability is very minimal. So the accountability is sending in a just Word document accountability sheet every single Monday before noon, which is just how many leads did you receive, how many offers written, how many under contract, accepted, closed, terminated, who's your top clients, and how many homes did you show them. If you're also a listing agent, you know, how many appointments did you go on, how many agreements did you get, how many offers accepted. So it's just a quick rundown just to kind of see where our team's at as a whole. So those are turned in every single Monday by noon. I also do at max a 10-minute call with each individual agent every single Monday. We have a set time. And once again, we talk about, hey, you mentioned last week you wanted to put one buyer under contract. How did you do? If you didn't hit it, why not? And then what is your goal for this week? So they're setting their own goal. I'm not setting it for them. And so just a quick little check-in. And then I would say the biggest thing as far as accountability is just the understanding that, hey, on our team, like there is no reason why you shouldn't be able to put 24 homes under contract on a yearly basis. And so that's what's expected of you. Beyond that, that's it. There's no accountability. I'm not micromanaging going behind you. Like we're all grown adults. You know, we all want to be in this business because we want to be. And I'm not going to force that. So that's it. There's no we don't do any required in-office time. There's no required lead gen time. I mean, that's it. If you aren't hitting your numbers, we'll dig deeper on, well, why aren't you hitting goal? Okay, you made one call last week. I don't feel bad for you, right? But that's it.
Yeah. So is that two units a month, is that a make or break on stay on the team for those 24 units a year?
Not 100%. For example, last year we had an agent who closed 15 units. She's a team player. She fits in well as far as the culture goes. She just didn't have a strong year. But then this year, she's already in May, she had already put 15 under contract for the year. So, if it's consistent and I feel like someone just isn't trying, that's a different conversation to have. But you know what, we all have different personal things that happen in our lives, and maybe just that goal wasn't attainable because we had other things happening. So it's not a hard and fast, like you're off the team. But, I want to make sure that everyone's trying, just because, you have one agent who's just not holding their own. It can bring others down. We all need to be going towards the same goal.
Sure. Yeah, and I'm a huge fan of core values fit, making sure that they have that baseline core values fit as a filtering mechanism as well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to turn it over to you. I've been asking several questions. What do you have for us, Phil?
Oh, no, you're great. I want to stick with this thread for a few minutes, Angie, because what you're describing is very much in line with the way that we would coach and approaching team building and the level of, I know you say that there's not accountability. However, what you're describing is certainly, as you well know, a form of it. It's not a, top down, beat them with a stick kind of accountability. It's a let's all win together kind of accountability.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing that, and what caused that trigger to say, we're going to develop training modules, we're going to develop this weekly rhythm, here's the way our team is going to embrace this, and we know if the person's the right fit or not? So talk us through that journey, please.
Yeah, I would say as far as we've always been requiring like accountability sheets to be turned in, just so we know where our numbers are. But you know what? I look back probably 4 to 5 years ago, and we weren't even tracking lead sources, which is sad. So then there's no way to really look at your return on investment, right? But as far as accountability, as far as the check-in with the agents, and then the modules, check-in with the agents, we started that in 2019. And, I get feedback from other, top producers, in the market, and that's something they mentioned they did. And I was like, all right, great idea. This takes 2 seconds of my day. And it's a check-in with a team where they just know that I'm still actively involved. I'm here to help, which I'm a open door policy anyways. Call me at any point, I'm here to help. But I think just still that extra little just touch and just really asking them, well, what is your goal? What do you want to see for this week? I think is really important. The module thing has been dragging and it's something that I've known I needed to do for the longest time. And I actually started working on it back in 2019. And it was just making the time to, personally hold myself accountable and sit down and put together those modules. So they're just a Zoom meeting like this, where I'm recording myself and going through every avenue of the real estate transaction. But I started that in 2019 and finally finished it this year. That was eye-opening. So I think it's just, as our businesses grow, it's how can we, save time? Where can we best utilize our time? And my time was not best spent spending a week of my life saying the exact same thing to every single agent. So like, how can I systemize this? So, you know, I think, you know, so there wasn't just a light bulb went off, but, you know, I knew I needed to do this. And just finally, as we started to hire agents, it's like, I don't have the time to sit down with every agent. So we really need to implement the modules and put those in place. And as far as accountability goes, you know, I hold them a little bit accountable, but, you know, I feel like the team members hold each other accountable. So a lot of that accountability is, you know, that friendly competition. You know, we have an ongoing WhatsApp is how we communicate back and forth with the team. And when someone puts one under contract, shout out to that agent, you know, so there's that friendly accountability and kind of competition going, saying, oh, this agent just put 5 under contract. Oh my gosh, I need to, you know, get with it. So I think we just, you know, we hold each other accountable because we set monthly goals for ourselves as a team. Like, for example, this month, you know, hey, we need to put 35 homes under contract as a team. So if we keep seeing the same name on the WhatsApp, I bet the others are like, okay, I need to do my part. So, you know, the accountability is just there because as a team, we want to hit a goal. It's not just individuals within like the firm.
Sure. Yeah. Well said. Well, and you mentioned at the top of the call too, that you're selecting for that in the candidates that you're evaluating. So you're saying, here's who we are as a team. And if this doesn't jive with you, we might not be the right fit. And then when they get in, it makes sense that they're playing that way together. So great work.
Yeah, most definitely. I actually just had an incident where an agent just joined our team about 5 weeks ago, and she has a little one who just turned 1, and she's like, okay, I'm ready to really jump back into real estate. And, you know, just from, you know, meeting with her, she would be a great fit. And I could tell she was a go-getter. Well, she surprisingly found out that she was pregnant. And so, you know, she came to me, and because she knew, she was like, Angie, I can't meet that expectation that you like, you know, expressed to me that's, you know, expected of the agents. Like, I can't be that full-time agent that you're wanting that's going to hit those amount of units. And, you know, she was, of course, super excited about the surprise baby, but she was also super bummed that, you know, she had to step back from the team. So, you know, there's a lot of that accountability that they, you know, have for themselves.
Definitely. So kind of sticking with this thread, I'm gonna bounce to a question Debbie and I were talking about in preparation for this, lead generation sources, because you mentioned it just a second ago, that there was a time a few years ago where you weren't tracking it, which I think we've probably all been through at some point in our careers, and you're like, oh, maybe I should track this now. So now that you're tracking it, what would you say are your top 3 lead gen sources, and give us kind of the quick version of how you're focused on those, please?
Yeah, I would say we kind of have top 4, but they kind of mingle together. So we have past clients and past client referrals are huge for us. And we are really big on, you know, really just loving on our past clients. So we do 2 large like client appreciations a year. We do random pop buys, for example, like the football calendars. We send out cookies for Valentine's. We have a private face group of all of our past clients where we do monthly contests. So we're just continuing to love on them, which is huge. So we get a lot of repeat business and also referrals from those past clients, which is a huge part of our you know, business and lead sources. Also, agent referrals is really, you know, just wonderful for us. And we get connected with them through social media. Social media has been awesome for business, and I think it's, you know, amazing for a lot of agents in the market. But connecting with agents just in other areas who have clients moving into the area, or someone needs to list their home. Also, we're connecting with a lot of agents where they find us on Zillow. I think I'm lucky because my name's Angie Cole, so an A and a C, I'm at the very top. And then we have a lot of reviews on there. So immediately, I mean, I had one yesterday, reached out to me, hey, you know, have someone moving into their area. I'm listing their home in Illinois. Can y'all help? Found us on Zillow. So agent referrals are amazing. But we, as far as working with those agent referrals, we have a system behind it. One of our admin, I mean, that is one of her jobs. Every single day she's going into the CRM, she's making sure that her tasks are up to date. You know, she's giving those agents updates, those referral agents. And so we're on top of our referrals to make sure that we get, you know, future referrals from them.
Sure.
And then the last one would be realtor.com. I know some people are like, oh my gosh, you pay for leads. I will spend with whatever's working, right? But we track it, so we know it's working. And so, you know, realtor.com, we spend with them. We also have an amazing lender who, you know, splits that with me. So it makes it even, you know, more attractive as far as the return goes. But our team, they kill it off of realtor.com leads.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Great summary on all of that. Thanks. Back to you, Debbie.
Sure. So when you think about the leads that are coming in, I know you mentioned that you have an ISA that's on the phone constantly. Tell us a little bit about that ISA position, because that's a question that we get frequently on. Is it inbound, outbound, both? What responsibility does the agent have versus the ISA? At what point are they turned to the agent? How is that routing work? All of those questions. So if you could walk us through your experience with your ISA and how that's working.
Yeah, first of all, I think the ISA role probably is the hardest role to hire for. It is really hard to find someone who's great over the phone, who can convert leads, just build that rapport, and also who enjoys being on the phone like that all day long. So that is a really difficult role to hire for. But our ISA is absolutely amazing. And our past one was too. He was with our team for 2 years. And I knew as soon as he graduated college, he was going to go down that career path, which I knew it was happening, happy for him, but we've really had really great luck with our ISAs. But the way that we handle leads, first of all, is it's kind of like a Shark Tank. We call it when leads come in that are, online leads, which, we have a lot of different platforms. We, for example, do Google AdWords, Zillow, Realtor.com, our website. We have billboards so people can come to the website that way, radio and podcasts. So leads come in. On average, we're getting about 175 new leads on a weekly basis. When they come in, we do what's called the claim system. So every agent, and including the ISA, will get pinged that there's a new lead. And they have 1 minute to claim it. Whomever's claiming first, that means you're calling them immediately. Because our CRM doesn't work for us as far as automated emails and automated text. But when you're claiming, you're calling that person immediately. If no one claims, it drops to the ISA during working hours, because of course he's just sitting there at the computer and on the phone. After hours, we have like so-called phone duty, and we rotate the agents in. So after hours, it would drop to that agent who's on phone duty, excuse me, and they have an understanding that, hey, if you're on phone duty for the night, you're calling that person as soon as you get a moment. Like, don't wait to the next day, because timing is very important, especially for internet leads. But even though they're calling and they claim that lead per se, it's not their lead unless they actually speak with them, they have a great conversation, and they want to claim them from the system, meaning they put them in what's called like the prospect or hot prospect stage. We have different stages in our CRM. But a majority of the leads will come in, and you leave a voicemail for them. And I would love for every single one of my agents and our ISA to call that same person, because that lead's not just coming to us, especially with like Realtor.com leads. They go to other agents in the market as well. So all hands on deck. And then once you have a great conversation with them, either to show a home or set them up on a search, you then, you can actually claim them. And you're limited on how many you can claim. We have at max 75 that you can put into your bucket, which is even a lot, but you can grab 75 from our database. But as far as the ISA goes with setting appointments for the agent, so a listing appointment's a listing appointment. Hey, all right, great, Saturday at 2:00 works. I'll have one of my listing agents reach out to you. On the buy side, it's we have kind of two rules. So if someone just wants to view a home, we set the appointment. I know a lot of agents will probably scream at me for doing that as far as safety goes and whatnot, but we do have a wonderful app called Forewarn. I highly recommend, where you can do background checks on people. So we're cautious of the people we're meeting with. But we are always open to meeting and showing just one home, because we always have so much better luck just meeting them in person and converting them. Maybe they don't love that home, we'll find you another one. A lot of times we end up putting people under contract. Actually, one of our agents, Alex, just 2 or 3 days ago, off of a Zillow lead, showed him one home, and they're under contract, $370,000 home. But if he would have said, hey, we first need to meet in person, or I need to get a pre-qual, blah, 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 he might not have converted them, might have lost them to another agent. So an ISA appointment is, hey, they just want to see one property, or maybe, for example, that property is under contract. He then goes into the next qualifying questions. He'll talk about, so tell me a little bit about your situation. Are you currently owning or leasing? He gets into details as far as timeline goes, price point, their motivation. He always asks, are you working with an agent? But once they're under 4 months from being out of when they need to be in a home, he then sends them over to an agent. If they are, like, for example, in a lease and their lease doesn't expire until 9 more months, He'll explain to them how he would like to set them up directly in our database so they get real-time data, but it's too soon to start actively looking because just, he explains the market. So once they're at the 4-month mark, he then passes them on to the agents.
That's great. So would you mind sharing with us what system you use for CRM and what the ping system is that you're using? Because I know these are the questions people are going to ask me. Well, what does she use?
Yeah, we use Follow Up Boss. We love Follow Up Boss. That's our CRM system. So it does all of your automated, you put, set up action plans. It does the automated emails, the automated text. We can move our clients through different stages. So our team, we all know, okay, what is a lead stage? What's a nurture, prospect, hot prospect, active, pending, past client. The CRM does everything for us. And then as far as the ping system, actually Follow Up Boss is the ping system per se. Follow Up Boss will do a push notification to the agent's phone for whoever is on, lead rotation. And you can do a round robin, or you can do the claim system, which we prefer the claim system because, in the past we did round robin, and say we send a lead to the next person up. Well, they're in a design appointment for the next 3 hours, so you've lost that lead. And so we do the claim system. But yeah, Follow Up Boss is the system we use for our CRM.
Yeah, so it sounds like you can also have the responsibility to lead generate as well as take leads. It's not just everything routes to the ISA and then the ISA shuffles it out. So
yeah. So there's a little bit of, friendly competition for him as well. But the agents love our ISA because, without an ISA, they're setting their own appointments. So appointments the ISA sets for them is above and beyond. It's like, icing on the cake because they had the opportunity to claim that lead. They had the opportunity to lead generate in our database. It's fair across the board. So if the ISA is setting an appointment for them, it was because probably they were out showing homes at the time. So, they love our ISA and they're happy to, they compensate him whenever a home closes that the ISA set, 5% comes out of their commission check, and they're more than happy to, because again, that's business they wouldn't have had.
Right. Bill, do you have the next question?
Yeah, I do. I'm ready. So Angie, over the past, 90 days or so, all markets have been working their way through all the coronavirus COVID stuff. And curious, I guess, 2-part question. Number one, what have you guys done differently during that period? And then part 2 of that, what have you done differently during that period that you're going to continue doing on the backside of this?
Yeah. So in the beginning, when the kind of, announcement of the pandemic and whatnot, there was a lot of fear, right? All of the unknowns of what does that mean for the real estate market? What does that mean for the world in general? But the biggest conversation we had as a team is, we need to make sure that we are nurturing relationships. So we need to come out of, how can we help you? So instead of making a salesy call, we need to say, hey, how are you doing right now? How are you feeling? Has, the pandemic changed anything about, your, being excited about buying or selling a home? So, and also I would say educating the client. A lot of buyers and sellers just felt like, well, especially like sellers, like I can't sell my home right now. No one will look at my home. So the very first conversation I would have with them, even before they gave me their feedback, is, hey, I just want to tell you about the market right now. I know it's crazy times, with COVID, a lot of people are on edge, uneasy, but homes are still flying off the market. In our area, we can still show homes, and we haven't seen that slowed. So I just want to let you know that now is still a great time to sell. And they're like, oh, I didn't know I could sell right now. So just more of the education and also just the relationship, building a rapport that way, instead of just very salesy approach, I would say. One thing that and it was funny though, so we, I think we all freaked out, right? And I would say probably the first 2 weeks of when the pandemic hit, showings just dropped significantly, and none of us knew what that meant. But right after that, it picked right back up. We did not skip a beat. Our numbers are way above what they were in 2019. We still hit our monthly goals in April and in May. So nothing changed for us. Even though that beginning of April started off slow, we still hit our numbers. But one thing that I notice is changing, and we will continue to do, is Zoom presentations, especially for our listings. It was funny because I'm still actively in production, and we have other listing agents, but my mindset was, you know what, these people, they don't want to do a Zoom presentation. They don't want to do this virtually. They want to meet in person. You know, they want to know that I care about the home and I saw their home. Well, actually, I found it the complete opposite. I went through a period where I kept losing potential listing appointments. So I'd have an appointment set, you know, then all of a sudden they would email me the morning of, hey, Andrew, we already chose another agent. I'm like, wait, I didn't even get the opportunity to meet with you. And it wasn't like my appointments were set way out. I was finding that other agents were doing Zoom presentations. And so they were winning over the client, you know, and, you know, they could, of course, do a follow-up meeting and go inside the home and then, you know, really get an eye of how the home looks, its condition and whatnot to give an exact price point, you know, but just getting the client on the phone or doing a virtual appointment, I think is important. I think that will continue. So I have changed up kind of how I set an appointment, and it's, hey, would you prefer to do a virtual appointment? We can do that by Zoom. I mean, I could do it within the next hour. Or would you like to meet in person? What do you prefer? And since I've done that, I haven't lost appointments or even the opportunity for an appointment. So I think that will continue. Just people like the convenience.
Sure. Absolutely. It's a great point. Debbie, what you got?
Well, one thing that I know about you and I learned as we've gotten to know each other better is that you're in radio and you have a podcast, and adding that to your business was a decision-making tool to generate additional business. And that actually, as I shared with you, is a question we get several times about, should I get into radio, or someone contacted me about radio, or what's the next thing I can do? So would love to hear from you, one, that experience, how you're utilizing the radio and podcast. And then the second question would be, what was that tipping point to where you felt that radio and podcast should be the next direction that you would take your business?
Yeah, so, and I don't have the exact number probably correct, but I believe I've been in radio for about 3 years now. Actually, the producer approached me because he was running a lot of financial shows, and he decided, hey, I want to maybe just get into the real estate world. So what does this look like? So he approached me and said, hey, Angie, this is what I'm trying to do. Would you be open to it? We worked out a deal, and great, let's run with it. And so we started that about 3 years ago. And my thing with any type of marketing strategy or avenue is, first of all, you have to give it some time, right? Most time you need to look at it, probably give it about 6 months to see if it's working. And, you know, then continue to make sure it's working. You're seeing some type of return. So, you know, we track that lead source. If we set a listing appointment or a buyer appointment from the radio, we're tracking it. But my mindset with radio is it's also a branding piece as well. And so although we can generate new leads and new business from it, it is also just a great way to get your name out there. It kind of solidifies that, hey, that person is probably the expert in the area. You know, so we use it to our advantage when we go on a listing appointment. You know, we talk about, hey, we have a radio show every single noon on 106.1, and the advantage to our sellers is we're doing our 3 feature listings of the week. Well, we're talking about your home. We're lead capturing from there. And so when we say that, they're like, oh, wow, you know, so it's just above and beyond what others are doing. But it's really, of course, getting our name out there. And, you know, I've had some times I've gone to meet with a client and they're like, oh, I heard you on the radio before. And they're like starstruck for a second, which is like comical. But, you know, it has really helped the business not only to generate new leads, but it markets our listings. And then it's just a great branding piece as well. And then the podcast is the same, you know, so the podcast is actually a spinoff of our radio show. So the content of our radio show, our producer is absolutely amazing. And he actually draws up all the questions for me, so I don't have to think about it weekly as far as what we're going to talk about. So he always comes to the table with, hey, you know, let's do, you know, we always have like listener questions. We have our listings of the week. I getting to know Angie, and then we always have like a main topic. Okay. And we try to stay current with the market as well. And so it's an hour-long segment, but then the podcast is like a condensed version of the radio show that's tapered down to about 15 minutes because we can post that on our blog, all over the internet. You know, I had a gentleman, and I remember end of 2019 calling from California, and his family was moving to the area. And I asked, well, how did you hear about us? He said, I heard your podcast. So, I mean, it's just a great marketing piece as well.
Yeah. So how can they find your podcast?
Yeah. So, I mean, the easiest way is you can always just go on our website. There's a link there, but it's called The Savvy Realtor with Angie Cole is the name of the podcast, and Savvy is SAVVY.
Great. Yeah, and what I love about your radio is it's not necessarily radio ads, like running the ad on the radio station. It's an actual radio show.
Yeah.
Topics
Yeah.
real estate.
Right. It's a back and forth, myself and the producer, Walter talking back and forth, asking questions, it's a lot of just, chat, sometimes we get off topic, but it's fun. And, it just keeps people, on top of the market, understanding what's happening now. And, it's great too, because he'll choose topics where he hears something in like the news or, an article. And I'm like, that is just completely off. That is not the truth. And so, it's great information to share because, we all watch these, fun, shows like HGTV and just, your mindset of how the real estate world is and how it should be with buying and selling and flipping sometimes is not realistic. And so we kind of clear up some of those confusions.
Yeah, sure. So how often did you say you're doing that show?
Yeah, so it's weekly. So it's every single Saturday at noon. Yeah.
Great. Well, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, and I'll tell you all a secret too. So a lot of people are like, okay, clearly I'm not going into the radio show on Saturday at noon, okay? I have better things to do in my weekend. I enjoy going to the beach. So it is pre-recorded, okay? But it's funny because people truly will call at that time while the show is running. And actually, I make a point not to answer my phone for that hour-long segment, and I call them back after, and I'm like, "Oh, sorry, didn't want to interrupt the show," because they call in with listener questions. And so, yeah, it's a pre-recorded show, which is wonderful because none of us are perfect, and here and there they do a little bit editing, right? But so you can work it around your schedule as well. It doesn't have to be a live show.
Yeah. So just out of curiosity, when you think about cost versus ROI on the radio show, what does that look like for you?
You said cost versus ROI?
Cost perspective, and then in terms of ROI that you're seeing from that show.
I think I got what you said. Sorry, I was breaking up a little bit. But actually, most of our business tends to come from our texting. So we do what's called the call to action. So we have different keywords where you can text the word listing to the phone number 555-888 to get an idea of what your home is worth in today's market. So we find that the text actions, the call to actions, we see a higher return on those versus just the direct calls. And we get a lot more texting versus calls. This day and age, for example, like we don't do flyers outside of our listings because people don't call off of them. They don't call off my sign, but they sure enough will text off the text writer, right? So the texting call to actions work really great. On average, I would say we're getting maybe 8 to 12 text inquiries per show. From that, we're always setting at least one appointment. But and I would say majority of the appointments are listings because we really do that one call to action a lot more than the others. Listings are the big part of our business, right? More listings, more leads overall. So I'd rather set more listing appointments. So just say we even get one listing lead off of it on a weekly basis. That's huge. That paid for the show. A lot. That paid for it.
Absolutely.
So Angie, we'll spend maybe 10 more minutes or so together. One of our favorite questions to ask is, knowing what you know now, if you could go back and do something differently, what would that be, or what would the short handful of things be you would do differently?
Yeah. I always say it's going to be hire slow and fire fast. I first of all, I'm the worst when it comes to waiting to the last minute to start interviews. And, really just, all right, hey, the contract to close department is swamped. We need help. So then you're like scrambling to try to find a good fit, and finding great talent is difficult, right? The biggest thing that I would change in my business is to always be hiring, looking for talent, whether it's on the admin side, agents, never cut yourself off from having that meeting, that conversation, because you don't know at what point in your business, at any point, agents leave, admin leave. It's an open door, right? That's just the business we're in. And unfortunately, we do have some amazing people that have been with our business for several years, but still people come and go, and you always need to make sure that you're able to fill that funnel. And don't allow someone to stay in your team too long if you just know they're not a great fit. Firing is never a fun conversation to have. I really take it to heart, and it's personal. It's a tough discussion, but we're only hurting the other person when we don't have those conversations up front as far as, what we need to see, what they need to change, what we could be doing differently. And so that's something that I would have changed or I could have done better in my business in the past, is really just always be hiring, looking for great talent, and be quick to fire if needed. Because also it can bring others down. I've noticed that within our team as well. There can just be some bad blood in your team. Maybe they're gossipy. They have drama just surrounding them. And it's for the longest time, you know what, we need to get rid of this person. But hey, they're a top producer. You don't want to see those leads or those transactions gone. But as soon as they're gone, you look back and you're like, you know what, that was so toxic for our team. We should have gotten rid of that person. Who cares that they closed all these homes? It wasn't worth hurting everyone else on the team. So be quick to fire when you know someone is not a good fit. Sure,
definitely. All right, Debbie, back to you to wrap us up.
Sure, I have one, maybe two additional questions. So I know we talked a little bit about the brokerage that you're in. So you created an independent brokerage, and I want to address this because we do have some brokerages that we coach, as well as tune into our Thought Leader Friday. So you shared with me a little bit about going independent and creating the brokerage, maybe really just a teamerage versus a brokerage. So a little bit about that thought process, and is it going to remain a teamerage, or are you looking to grow a brokerage?
Sure. So I decided to make the jump and just, do our own brokerage, our own independent firm, strictly, honestly, from a financial standpoint. I looked at the numbers, and our past firm we were with, amazing firm. But, once we got up and going, I was like, okay, we can do the exact same thing, but on our own, and also keep these company dollars in our pocket, right? And utilize them towards marketing or whatever it might be. So we decided to make the switch. I knew immediately, though, with opening my own brokerage, that our brokerage is our team, okay? You're not a member of our firm unless you're a member of our team. And our team, we are so close and tight. I mean, we're like a family. I mean, outside of working hours, people are texting funny memes and, the beverage of choice for the night, whatever it might be. It's just a great group. It's like their second family. And so you need to be a part of our team. I did try briefly back in, it would have been in 2018, that I allowed part-time agents. Okay. So I had, I think at that time, 4 part-time agents on our team, where there's absolutely no accountability for them. They're not really a part of our team. They don't, join us for our team outings. They're not on our fun, team chat app. And that they still have their license underneath us, as long as I felt like they would, present the company in a positive way. But what I found with that is I still did my training, right? So I spent a week of my life training these people, and then they might have sold 1 home a year. And the thing that really bothered me is, yes, it took time for me, but I felt like it was taken away from our top producing agents because, instead of, for example, last year we had 7 producing agents who closed 309 units. Well, now we have these other 4 people, but they didn't contribute. So I felt like it was taken away from the team and really being like, hey, we're a small group that's doing amazing numbers. And so that really bothered me. And so I did away with the idea of part-time agents. I just said, you know what, this is not the concept we're looking for. Honestly, it wasn't, profitable for the company either. And it was taken away from our just amazing rock star agents. So moving forward, I will not go more of the independent route and just bring agents underneath us. I also worry about the liability. The more agents you have underneath you, there's responsibility there as far as if they get in trouble, you get in trouble. And it's hard to watch everyone. And so, it's not worth it unless they are producing and really bring into the team. So yeah, we will continue to be a team. We're a firm, but it's the team A Cole Realty.
Great for sharing that. I guess the last question I have would be parting thoughts, maybe some opportunities you're seeing in today's market or threats that you're seeing in today's market, and then any parting thoughts that you have for any of our listeners out there.
Yeah. I would say the biggest thing just, with where we're at now, in 2020, it's been a crazy year, I know, for everyone, what's happening in the world. I would just say, do your part as a team leader. If you're a team leader, is keeping your members positive. You know, we are in just such a great market. I mean, none of us know what will happen a year from now, 2 years from now, but capitalize on it now and take advantage of it. And we need to be doing the exact same thing for our clients as well. Just reassuring them that, hey, it's a great time to buy. Interest rates are low. It's a great time to sell. Inventory's low. And so just keeping them positive. And then also parting thoughts. I'm big on, keeping very just my opinion as far as politics, all this fun stuff happening right now in the world. Like, we need to stay quiet because especially as a team leader, my opinions, not only could they hurt me, but they could hurt our team. And it's not worth it. So just my 2 cents with that. Yeah.
Social media.
Yeah. So social media is where we get so much business from, and it's so great to capitalize on it, but be careful with what you're talking about, Stick to just your fun family events and your business and leave it at that.
And I think that's true for any agent getting into the industry, whether they're coming out of high school, college, another career. Neutralize your social media. I always say that, go in there and say, if I were a client, would I want to see you dancing on that bar every Saturday?
I was just going to say the same thing. I used to always say that when I did the social media presentation. I said, I can post that, hey, I'm drinking a Blue Moon. I love my Blue Moon. Well, I can't drink Blue Moon right now, but I love my beer. But I'm not going to post a drunken picture that. Guys, you just have to be smart because people are watching you, right? You can find anything on social media right now. So be careful with what you're posting.
Very good. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us today. And I'll let Bill give the final goodbye, but truly appreciate your time. And I hope you have an amazing weekend, and congratulations on your babies. We look forward to seeing you.
Thank y'all for having me.
Yeah, thanks, Angie. Good to see you as always, and great stuff today. We'll catch you next time.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.